Hey, what's poppin', boys, girls, and everybody in between otherwise? My name's Adrian. Welcome to Pride. Wait. Welcome to Pride. This is just gonna stay right here. So this year, unfortunately, Pride parades across the world, or in North America at least, have been compromised by COVID. It's understandable, it needs to keep us safe. However, I'm still very sad about it. So I'm calling this My Pride because this is really my pride. And if you guys want to enjoy and watch, feel free, make this your own little pride too. Before anyone asked if I stole this from TikTok, no, I didn't. I had no idea that they were gonna do a My Pride campaign. No idea at all, because I mean, I don't really use TikTok to begin with, and I thought of this at the beginning of the month. So if anything, TikTok stole it from me, you'll be hearing from my lawyers. I'm kidding, please don't sue me. On this fine afternoon, we have a bunch of festivities up for you. I'm gonna be talking about some important LGBT topics. Also, I have a few guest speakers and a float. I have a float. So sit back, relax, imagine you're at Pride, and let me take you through this magical rainbow journey. Before we get into the celebrations, I want to talk about something super important, and that's the history of Pride. Pride actually started out as a riot on June 28th of 1969. At the Stonewall Inn in Manhattan, New York. It started as a violent protest in order to combat police brutality against the LGBT+ community. It is believed that Black trans woman Marsha P. Johnson is the person who threw the first brick at the first Pride. However, some people believe that we don't actually know who threw the first brick. Regardless of if she threw the first brick or not, Marsha P. Johnson was an incredible advocate and really led the fight for equality. Marsha and her fellow trans people of color were really at the forefront of the fight. They were at the front of every riot, of every protest, and they were absolute champions in fighting for equality for the LGBT+ community. This history is incredibly important today, especially with the revelations coming about in regards to systemic and overt racism happening today towards Black people. One of the most victimized groups in the world are Black trans women. Yes, everybody in the LGBT+ community suffers unjust discrimination. However, Black trans women and trans people in general are being killed at alarming rates. The Human Rights Campaign found that 22 trans people were murdered in 2019 in the US alone. This is only the reported amount of cases because we don't actually know a real number. It could be much larger, this is just how many of them were reported. The American Medical Association is calling the murders of trans people an epidemic. This is the 5th year in a row that over 20 trans people in the United States were killed. More than that, trans people are also at highest risk for homelessness, drug addiction, abuse, sexual abuse, and so much more. In the same week that Trump revoked anti-discrimination laws protecting trans people for getting health care, 2 Black trans women were killed. I'm sorry if I mispronounced these names, I tried searching them up on how to say them, but I'm not 100% sure if this is right, so my apologies. Rhea Milton from Ohio and Dominique Remy Fells from Pennsylvania. Once again, I'm sorry if I mispronounced those names. And even Tony McDade, a Black trans man, was killed by police this year on May 27th. He was constantly misgendered in reports and articles, and there is still no justice for any of their deaths. So when we celebrate Pride this year and for the years to come, it is important to remember and recognize our history and protect the Black people in our community. If you want to know how to help combat racism and also donate to organizations who are specific in protecting trans lives, such as the Marsha P. Johnson Institute, please click the links and the resources in the description box below. Now I welcome our first guest speaker of the day, my friend Micah, who's a content creator here on YouTube. He's going to talk about what it was like having a gay dad growing up and how it's impacted his coming out story as well.
Okay guys, the topic I would like to talk about for today's video for Adriana is that growing up with gay parents. So growing up with gay parents is different as is, but being a gay son of a gay man has its own challenges and experiences that I thought I would share with you guys for this video. So growing up with a dad who came out in my teens was kind of difficult because I didn't really know much about the community at the age of 12 in 2012, 2013. So with my experiences, I wasn't really the best fan of being gay and gay people. So I was homophobic for a few years until I figured out my own sexuality via the internet and learning about homosexuality after my dad came out, because I didn't know what it was before then. So I definitely learned a lot of new information afterwards. Having that support system of a gay father is really helpful because he understands what you're going through, but also he went through different challenges than you. You can also learn those experiences from him, but also it brings up some challenges. Coming out with a gay dad, people will judge you for having a gay father and make fun of you for it going through school. And I definitely felt some of that, but since it happened in my teen years, like 12, 13, going into middle school and high school, I had some experience with the people around me, so they didn't really judge me for it, but the people who did, it was pretty harsh and they were very homophobic. So it reflected on me and I became homophobic, as is because I didn't see the correlation between the hate from them to the hate towards my dad, and I saw it. My dad was in the wrong and not them. So also growing up with a gay father means that he expects things out of you, I guess. When I came out, he wasn't shocked or surprised, and I didn't really have to explain much. I just had to say it. It's kind of weird because he grew up in an age where it wasn't okay, and I grew up halfway in the age of it being legalized and not being legalized. He's an adult, and he has those life experiences and viewpoints and thoughts that he had before he came out, and then they added on top of him being gay. So his political views, his personal beliefs all aren't the same as mine because I grew up having divorced parents, and I grew up in an age where we watched TV shows about dismantling the government. We're in a day of age where the younger generation is fighting for the rights of everybody. It's kind of difficult seeing a father figure of yours who has that shared similarity of being gay not have the same opinions about the community, and having to educate him on the community that he's involved in because has older experiences and mindsets about things, and he says some things that I correct and educate on that if I said it, I would feel ashamed of saying it, but he doesn't know that that's wrong. So that was definitely a challenge for me, having to educate myself as well as my parental figure. So not having the father figure all the time in my life, I made some pretty bad decisions. I dated a man who turned out to be a pedophile. If you guys want to check out that story, I made a video on it. So I make videos about my story all the time, so if you want to check those out, you can do that. But it was pretty rough. And growing up gay parents, pretty cool, pretty dope, especially divorced parents. You get 2 Christmases, all that. But it can come with some challenges, and definitely had some struggles growing up because of both having divorced parents and having a gay father. That's growing up gay with a gay father. And I wouldn't change it for the world, even if I've gone through some struggles. I learned from those, and I wouldn't be the person I am today without those. So, was that good, AG?
Thank you, Micah, and as he said, you can find his information in the description box below. Now, onto a fan favorite of the day, the puppy float. Here at MyPride, we don't have corporations with floats. No, no, no. We have puppies. Enjoy. Can you sit? Huh? Good boy. Can you say gay rights? Thank you. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Anyways, next up we have my friend Ren, who's also a content creator. She's gonna be talking about her coming out story.
Hello and welcome to Adriana's channel. Okay, so I'm here to talk about how I first knew I was a lesbian. I understand that this is like something really difficult to a lot of people, and it was difficult to me as well. It's like, how do I know I'm a lesbian? How did I figure it out? How did I feel about like having this revelation about myself after so many years of thinking I was another way? Because I know I was that 15-year-old yahooing, how do I know I'm gay? Yes, that was me. I took a bunch of quizzes. Trust me, we all do it. So my story was, I worked with a lady and I felt a very big like friendship towards her. I felt a lot of things about her. I cared about her a lot. And this had been going on for months, and we talked all the time, and some of the coworkers went out, and I saw her talking with another guy, and seemed like she was flirting. And I remember I felt like this immense feeling of absolute dread and anxiety and disappointment, and just I felt so much that I had to run into the bathroom to puke. And as I was puking my guts out into the toilet, I was like, you know, I wiped my face, made sure everything was clean, because I'm nice like that. You know, I would never leave a mess regardless. I remember looking at myself in the bathroom mirror and thinking, oh my God, I'm in love with this person. I'm a lesbian. And it was kind of like this moment like went off in my head, and I was like, everything makes sense now. Everything makes sense. But I also was just so upset because this woman was straight, and I was never going to have any type of relationship with this woman besides friendship. So I felt a lot of things. I felt like I finally know, but I'm just so hurt now. And eventually I got over it, but at the same time, it was just figuring out that you are gay or lesbian. You can feel a lot of things, and that's okay. Like, take time, process it. You know, you don't have to tell anybody until you're ready, so don't feel like you have to, like, just, once you find this out, you have to just scream it from the rooftops. No, take time, process it, and when you are ready, then you can come out. At that moment, when I knew, I didn't even come out to everybody until like maybe, probably like a year later. So take time, process it, and deal with it on your own terms. Like, you don't have to do anything if you don't want to. Just take it in, you know? Because it can be scary and overwhelming, and you're gonna be thinking a lot of things. And if that's you right now and you're watching this and you feel that way, go to my YouTube channel and follow me on Instagram, and we can talk about it because I'm always there for you. So, remember, take it easy. It's okay. Being gay is okay, and you'll be okay, and everything will be fine. Process it, and there you go. Welcome to the club.
Thank you, Ren, and as always, you can find her information in the description box below. Go check her out. Now let's talk about my favorite topic, representation. I've said it many times before, and I'll say it again and again. Representation is one of the most important things if you want queer kids to love themselves. I share this in my coming out story, and I've shared it many times since. I found out I was gay through YouTube. I didn't feel comfortable with myself, and I didn't feel like I had anybody to look up to until I saw YouTubers such as Ali Hills. And really, it shouldn't have taken me years and heavy searching in order to find out who I was. I believe that if there was more mainstream media representing LGBT+ people in a diverse manner, not just stereotypes, I would have found out who I was a lot sooner, and I would have hated myself a lot less. Because growing up, I saw very, very few LGBT+ people on TV shows and books and movies. And before anyone says, we shouldn't sexualize kids shows with queer characters, queer people are not inherently sexual. You don't have to sexualize people in order to show their sexuality. There's nothing more sexual about a girl having a crush on another girl in grade 1 than there is about a girl having a crush on a boy in grade 1. The only thing that it does is normalize LGBT+ people, and it will resonate with kids who are struggling with themselves. LGBT+ representation is also lacking in professional fields such as STEM. In order to better understand this, I sat down with pansexual content creator Mackenzie to ask a few questions. She is a marine naturalist and researcher. She's a queer scientist. It's pretty cool. When I asked her about representation, she said that there was absolutely none that she can recall. LGBT+ people are not very well shown in the scientific community. She said that the lack of representation now and before made it much harder for past generations of queer scientists to come out because there was such a stigma. And there still is. But now there's an extra pressure on her and her generation of queer scientists in order to make their voices loud and heard for better representation. She said better representation starts with putting queer, women, and people of color scientists in history books, in science books. It also means confronting the stigma around taboo topics, such as LGBT+ sex education. Because I don't know about you, but I didn't learn very much from sex ed in relation to my sexuality. All in all, representation really does matter, and we as a whole need to do a better job of representing the LGBT+ community in mainstream media and in our education system. A huge shout out to Mackenzie for being so thoughtful and insightful with responding and answering. I really love her stuff. I'm not a big fan of TikTok, but I genuinely do love her TikToks. Please go check out her information in the description box below. Jessie, who is a good friend of mine and a poet, wrote a poem for Pride. It's beautiful, I love it. I'm gonna put it up on the screen for about 10 seconds. You probably won't be able to finish it in that amount of time, so please just press pause, read it through. It's beautiful. He's so talented, and even though he's straight himself, he's an amazing ally. I love him. Thank you, Jessie. Now that brings us to the end, sort of. I want to talk about one last thing, and that's the Trevor Project. The Trevor Project is a non-profit organization that aims to better the lives of LGBT+ youth. If you're struggling or if you're in a crisis, you can call the Trevor Lifeline, which is a number I'm going to put on the screen here. And by calling the Trevor Lifeline specifically, you'll be connected with a trained counselor. They're also open 24/7. So if you're ever struggling or if you're ever in a crisis, please call this number. You can also check out their website and they have a bunch of other resources. They have a chat, they have networking, and also check out and donate to the Trevor Project because they're awesome and they do awesome things. Beyond that, if you ever have a question about yourself or about sexuality in general in a respectful manner, please feel free to DM me or email me. All my information is in the description box below. Anyways, remember to go check out all of my guests in the description box below, as well as resources and links for Black Lives Matter, the Trevor Project, and much more. Thank you guys so much for being a part of this. I hope that you enjoyed this Pride, and I hope it can give you a little taste of Pride, even if we couldn't have our Pride this year. Remember, you are loved, you are cared for. I appreciate every single one of you. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you next week. Stay queer, my friends.